Yeah, thanks a lot for the warm welcome. So the talk today is like a bit different than talks that I usually give. Usually it's like you are on a sailboat, you have a new tool, you go out on a journey, you find things, you come back and you are there to tell the story. That's like the usual talks I gave in the past around Kanban methods, around tools in QA. And this talk will be a bit different because for me it's more like the tools may change, the names may change, but what is really the effects that those tools can have on the way we do currently Agile coaching. And it's really like, hey, this could be different, a different kind of paradigm here with this kind of AI support and how it will change whole industries, whole job markets, and really on this journey, how will the world change when we come back to it? So it's a bit of a different kind of talk, so like give me leeway and think it through with me. It's not that everything is settled, and it also is like the talk that has the highest chance of having like a low shelf life where things are changing so rapidly that maybe in a year or 2 years it will all be different and things will be clearer. Yeah, to the agenda, what will I cover today? So that you know where I'm coming from, what is my experience in Agile coaching. I will start with that you know like my context, what do I know about, what are like my experiences in that field. After that, I'm going like to give a brief introduction on what is like the concepts behind all these AI tools and why are they maybe interesting. And also going a bit into detail around the rise of ChatGPT, like the poster child of all these tools that really came into prominence rather quickly. Yeah, then quickly showing you the AI landscape of what are the tools that are out there. This is like really a snapshot and much can change in a year, but to get a quick grasp of what's out there. And then the main part really, the effects of these tools, like using them as coaches, as organizations, what are they, how can they be categorized, and I tried to find a bit of a taxonomy that makes sense for me. I flipped it from the title to make a bit more narrative sense to start with, hey, is this all a fad? Will this blow over? Is it a Swiss Army knife already that people can use for their practical tasks that they have? Can it ever be an assistant that people use these kind of AI tools? And yeah, are we having to fear for our jobs? Is the replacement coming and our whole job families going away? This is like the main part. Yeah, then quickly, briefly mentioning that you guys leave this talk with some, yeah, what's on the horizon maybe, what would be potential game changers that are out there. And yeah, closing with the challenges and drawbacks that maybe still are there. So it's not like all roses here. So there would be some challenges to overcome to get to a better place. Yeah, and in the end, if we have time, can do a short Q&A and discussion. But yeah, to get a bit the feeling of the crowd, some quick-fire questions. So please raise your hand if this is true for you. I have tried AI tools like ChatGPT already. How many hands go up? I would say 70 to 80%, yeah, that's good to know. These tools, like not necessarily ChatGPT, increase my efficiency or effectiveness at work. Who would agree here? So also for work, I would say it's lower. It's 20%, 25, okay, for the late risers. I give you a bit more time to think. And yeah, the next one is a bit more, like, is it more on the A or on the B side? Do you say, hey, this will all blow over and ChatGPT and those tools are like just really advanced text completion and there is no intelligence there? Or are you saying, hey, recent developments are really huge and we may be a step closer to artificial general intelligence? So really, it's a bit, I want to ask for the extremes. So who is on the more, this will blow over side and I'm not convinced? Okay, so some people to convince maybe, or saying that this is something to have a look out on. I would say, yeah, 3 to 5% here. And who is really on the, hey, I'm out there, I'm saying this will really change the world and general artificial intelligence. So yeah, that's cool. So really on the positive future outlook side to have a bit of a feeling here. Yeah, it's really great to see that diverse opinions are here, and hopefully the talk contains something for everybody. Yeah, so quickly going over to my head, so we had 80% use it, 20% say I use it for work already, I can use it there, and 5% and 20% on really out there. Okay, yeah, as I said, quickly going over what is my experience in Agile coaching, where I'm coming from. Like my first really going into the experiences was really leading an Agile transformation for a mid-sized online sports betting and gambling company. And yeah, you can think here really going from silos to cross-functional teams, introducing some methodologies that you're all familiar with, like Scrum on the team level, Kanban on the cross-team and portfolio level. So really shortening feedback cycles and then just having quicker releases, and also, as it's central to agility, having like feedback loops on all different levels. So this is like one place where I'm coming from. And yeah, since 2022, I'm now part of the Agile Competence Center at Dynatrace, which is really, like from the scale point of view, a huge step upward. Before I had to do with 100 people in IT, now I have 1,500 engineers with 9 other coaches to help in our organization and to help them grow, to help them like fit into their roles. And yeah, what's top of mind for us there at Dynatrace is currently just figuring out some growth pains, providing like a main guidance, an organizational model that everybody can work with and can thrive in. So really having the whole autonomy and alignment in good balance with a lot of autonomy still, and yeah, just really making sure that we can handle the rapid growth and guiding the organization with that kind of organizational model. And my main interests like areas of expertise are data-informed coaching, so really having visualizations, guiding the teams towards, hey, this is what we keep track of, is this the right thing to track, can we improve on that? And like all things Kanban and Flow, I'm also always happy to talk about that. Yeah, but that's just like a quick introduction to know, hey, this is my thinking, this is where I'm coming from for this talk, to have a bit of an idea here. Yeah, a quick introduction into the definitions or the terms that are important here. So really, generative artificial intelligence is just like training models and data that can then produce new content out of that data. There are like many new models behind that, and it can really be used on different kind of artifacts. Like it's not like ChatGPT only text. It can be on images, if you see other tools that are out there already and can be used in that regard. So really AI algorithms that are trained and then can produce new data that wasn't there before. Yeah, and the language model part is really just training like models on big text corpora and making sure that there is like smart algorithms, like new concepts that are very new, attention and self-attention, that it can predict, hey, giving this input, this is the most likely next word, next parts of words that come here, and going from there to have like that kind of building up on that. And as ChatGPT and others, and GPT is a large language model, it's just like an adding of, hey, this is trained on very large sizes of data, like whole scraping of the internet, parts of it, and then there are like smart steps performed on it. Then it can really be used to perform tasks, to say, hey, I ask a question, this is what I get back here, and it's trained like on a very great variety of data in that sense. Yeah, and maybe also interesting, the GPT is like generative, and it means that, yeah, it produces new data that wasn't there before. It's pre-trained, like the model has been trained already, it's there. And transformer is just something that Google came out of Google, so to say. So really a kind of algorithm that can, as I said, with kind of new concepts, attention and self-attention, predict the next words and is trained on that. Yep, that's just quick on the whole definition. So where is this coming from? Why can it do that? To explain that a bit. So not the why, but what is meant by it. And yeah, for me it became really interesting because I was really blown away by how fast it has risen, ChatGPT. Like the time to 100 million users compared to the internet, of course, there is hardware involved, and it's difficult to get people on there in that kind of time frame in before the 2000s. And then, of course, the software products have like faster rollover times, and the one before was TikTok that took 9 months to reach 100 million users, and really ChatGPT blew it out of the park and did it in 2 months. There is also a mention worth for Threads, for Facebook's project that is basically a Twitter clone, but they profited a lot from just figuring their user base that they already had to, hey, we also have this product on Instagram, now you use Threads. So they didn't even take 2 months, but like for a new product, ChatGPT is still like on the top tier, how long it took, yeah. Yeah, going a bit into, like, I was one of the first 100 million users in that sense, so I'm like one data point that got them to that kind of 2 months. And yeah, I was really like blown away. I read upon it on Twitter and said, yeah, this doesn't feel like right, how can it do all that? And I was instantly wowed, like, hey, cool, what can that do? Can it be like used in my job already? So really beginning to think and being wowed in the instance, yeah. Then when I first used it, I felt like, hey, this doesn't make sense. This is basically magic because yeah, for me it was really advanced of what it can do and what like previous kind of text completions could do concerning yeah, performing different things like yeah, answering questions or that kind of thing. Yeah, and I really, the first use cases I did with it was really using it for, hey, I don't know this concept very well, teach me a bit. So I immediately got into the trainer-tutor phase with that kind of tool. And the other thing I did was more like, hey, let's play a bit psychology on you. How do you feel? What are you like tool? How do you see yourself? And that was like my first two usages that I remember like playing with it. And yeah, of course the usual small stuff, what should I cook next and stuff like that, it can also do that. Yes, but that's kid stuff. Yeah, and of course I was interested, began to think, hey, how does it work? Does it make sense to present it to a wider audience? Like how I would see where this all leads in our job family of Agile Coaching. And yeah, I just became really interested, hey, how does this change job families? Can it change the world? What can come next? And really having that kind of view on it to see how does it change my profession? Will it still be there in 5 to 10 years? How does it change software development in that sense? So really going from there. Yeah, and the next thing that was really interesting for me was seeing how researchers from Microsoft like compared or evaluated what the tool can do, and really like the smartest people that Microsoft can put on that thing to say, hey, study that. You are not part of OpenAI, but study it as researchers and tell me what you come up with. And they really said, hey, intelligence, we want to figure out, is this thing intelligence? And they said, yeah, intelligence, a definition again, is a general mental ability that involves the ability to, like, can it reason? And they said, yeah, GPT-4 that they tried with can apply logic to go from existing information to like concepts and reason it through, seek the truth, form conclusions from it. So they gave it that kind of mental capability. They also said, yeah, it can solve problems. You can say, hey, this is like the constraints I have. Get me there. How would you do it? And it can figure it out by being trained on kind of how to solve problems, different kind of creative ways, and also finding new ways like through that generative process. So they also gave it the solve problem part. The third thing is think abstractly. So really you have that and nail it down to some kind of concepts that you can come up with. How are they connected? How is like the complexity in there? What is going on there? They also give it that, so really gave it that to say, yeah, it can do it. It can think abstractly also. Yeah, from that stems for me a bit like I don't see much difference, but they also like figured out comprehending complex ideas. So really telling it, hey, this is like something you maybe haven't been trained on. This is like a complex new idea. Can you hold it? Can you like rephrase it? Can you give it back to me? And they then said, yeah, those are the 4 that it can do for them. Currently, it can't learn quickly and learn from experience because it's like pre-trained. It gets back from a session and then it's back again to where it was. So really that kind of learning, hey, I already talked about this with you 3 sessions ago. It can't like do that yet, to really be retrained and to in-source that kind of new ontologies or new kind of learnings that it can do. Yeah, but they are said, it can, within a session it can learn it, but not totally. That's why they gave it a bit of a half point here. And concerning the can it plan, like can it plan ahead, can it see constraints popping up in the future that it maybe should go around. They had like use cases that showed it can't currently do that. So really they gave it like out of the 6 mental capabilities that they said, hey, this is intelligence, they gave it, if you want to say 4 totally, 4.5 if you want to give it the learn quickly inside a session. That was what they came up with. Yeah, and the planning state, they said, many problems have a linear solution where you can just like a bit brute force your way through it and go like other paths, and you don't have to plan ahead. So they said it can find ways to be like creative around that kind of it can't plan. And for me it was really interesting because they called the paper, I really recommend to have a look at it, Sparks of Artificial General Intelligence. Like they said, hey, there is already something that can get us there someday, and it's really worth having a look at. Yeah, quickly showing you guys the landscape. So this slide is just for that you hear, hey, those are the kind of things that are out there, the kind of models, but for me it's just important to show it's not only text. It can also produce images, other kind of models that it can use. It can produce speech, like really talking and that kind of output. And there are also like first steps to just describing, hey, I want to have this comic, I want to have this video, and it produces it like from being trained on previous models and having like the possibility to do new things with it. Yeah, and the applications that are based on these models are like, maybe you have heard of Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is like being tested out and really having like an assistant that can summarize meetings, that is part of Teams and can say, hey, those action items were mentioned, so really also part of the note keeper role, or telling you, hey, what would you do with this data in Excel, that it can really, you can converse with it already. Yeah, and another thing from the training perspective I also found very interesting, the Khan Academy has an AI tool that's called Khan Migo, which is like a tool that people can use for tutoring, training and learning, and really having a guide to, hey, I know you should know this already, think back, recall that, and really also helping like students or pupils to learn new things, and in that kind of way to have always like a tutor ready, that it's just there. Yeah, and one other thing, Microsoft also had an application that they call Microsoft LiDAR, which is like a conversational thing where you can say, with this data, I want to have this kind of graphs, and it just puts out the graphs because it can like analyze the data, and it gets there, and you can have a conversation to get to your diagrams and to your visualizations, which I found very interesting from that kind of data-informed coaching standpoint. Yeah, but that's the introduction concerning the tools that are out there, really going into detail around the effects of AI tools on Agile coaching. I modeled it here a bit around the kind of Agile growth wheel, so what's in it and where do I see the most promises to have like a next step. So really those kind of tools will have on the one hand effects on the work we do as Agile coaches. I try to represent it with the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel, and I really say, I can't state that I know more about Kanban than ChatGPT knows about Kanban, so really that kind of Agile frameworks and practices knowledge, so all the written stuff that is there, it's like a given, and it has the ability to converse about it, so really that's already there, so I would give it like that kind of sliver of the growth wheel already. The kind of advising for me comes with it. Of course, it doesn't have experiences, but it has like all the written stuff on experiences. It can like link back on that and has all the practices and principle knowledge. So really that's kind of interesting to have it there. And yeah, the guiding learning part, again, I mentioned it with the kind of what kind of trainings can do. It can be trainers, it can be tutors, also very interesting. And where I see maybe promises will be interesting how well that is accepted, but really the kind of facilitation, if you have like really just a being there that can tell you, hey, you forgot on that, or hey, we need more ideas in that regard, and you can really steer workshops and that kind of facilitation if like speech-based systems are there, will be very interesting. Yeah, this is like on the one hand on the work we do, and on the other hand I try to bit, hey, it doesn't only affect the work, it also affects the context we coach in, so really the kind of environments, the organization, the teams, which effects will it have on agile software development. Yeah, of course the definition part here is very difficult, but like for me really 3 prongs: agile software development, as Jason Gorman put it here, rapid and sustained evolution of working software, self-organizing and continuously improving teams, and really having the kind of feedback from customers, working in close collaboration, that kind of thing. And I tried to put it a bit here that the kind of first prong will really be affected by coding co-pilots at the first stage, so really developers having like interactions with the code and having like code rewritten, just being like emboldened and being faster towards that. Maybe someday really a term to have a look out on is conversational programming, which means that maybe you don't need kind of for certain things a developer anymore. It's just the person that knows the problem space the best can say, hey, to this application I would need these changes, add a notification system, and it's just a conversation with the system and the code is produced. And that would of course change a lot how rapidly software can evolve, because it's just produced that way, and interesting to think how that will all change if like development is not the bottleneck anymore, and you can just say produce this, produce 5 versions of this, run it in different regions and tell me which is best, and stuff like that. So really out there, of course, that's maybe some time away. Yeah, and of course it can have effects on the way teams interact, how big they are, how many teams do I need still, so that kind of aspect. And yeah, as I mentioned, if you are at the conversational programming stage, you are in the closest collaboration, because like the user, the stakeholder can tell the system how to adapt it. Yeah, now to the main part where I would go a bit into where do I see it? Do I see it like the whole AI tools as a fad? Is it going away again? Is it already a Swiss Army knife? Is it like an assistant maybe someday, or like a replacement? And yeah, taking that in, it's really, I go from a physicist and chemist here a bit, like Niels Bohr that said it's very hard to predict, especially the future, which is a bit of a quip already, but just to mention, yeah, these things can change, and like especially around the assistant and replacement part, it's just a few predictions from my side that may become true, maybe won't become true. Yeah, concerning the fad, again, a bit of a definition. How I see a fad is like something that you practice with exaggerated zeal for an interest for a time, so really it goes away again. Do I see the whole artificial intelligence, the whole tools based on that as a fad? I fell back on one person that put it this way: something is probably not a fad when there are like from 30 years ago really like a basic concept here, really research based on it. Those are whole institutes, people doing research, publishing papers, and really putting that out there. And here it's a bit comparable to how those kind of graphs looked for technologies like GPS, technologies like mobile technology. So really, does this have a solid foundation, a solid research foundation to stand on? And artificial intelligence has like a bit of a different curve, so it would have like 2 bumps 5 years ago and now, but it's like the basic smoothed out curve is the same, and that's why I would say, hey, that's probably not a fad here, the whole AI tools, because it's standing on like very strong foundations, and already like products are being released, and that's like, of course, a step further on the whole evolution of those kind of things. Yeah, concerning the capabilities, like the effects on Agile Coaching, what can it do with text? So really, like it can produce like these kind of things already for code, can produce like multiple lines of code and longer forms of code that can be integrated by developers still. But where will this all go? So really, like, again, not my predictions, but from another source, really, hey, longer kind of forms of text, maybe going there that a journalist only has to put there, hey, write it like the New York Times would, write it like the Washington Post would, and those are the facts from that kind of news story, and that news story is finished because the tools can produce those final drafts that are like already copy edited and finished for release. And yeah, those kind of, what kind of code can be adapted. Of course, this would be, how far is this away, really with question marks on the top, but maybe it's ready for prime time in a few years already, so really expecting those kinds of advancements. Yeah, summing up, so really not a fad, something that will be here to stay, and something that is like something to look out on. So those AI tools, putting effort into it and learning from them is really worth it. Yeah, from the fad, I put the icon I put there is like a fidget spinner, so something that goes away again, like for a short time there. And for the Swiss Army knife, is it a Swiss Army knife? I used the Swiss Army knife to indicate that. So really, for me, kind of the properties that are there, it's adaptable, it's versatile, it's handy, and it's compact. It's for the Swiss Army knife also a thing. For AI models, of course, compactness doesn't play the most important part, but it's just interesting, maybe compactness from the standpoint of can I put this on a phone and train it on my phone so that it can have all my conversations and that kind of thing. So really from that kind of size aspect. Yeah, from the Swiss Army knife perspective, like what are my experiences with it? How did I use it? So really the good that I used it already for is like just getting all kinds of text to a better state, like something that you have to write a blog post, some kind of mini, just inspirational short trainings to get people there, to put it out there. It's really kind of very amazing what it can do already there. I also used it for like translations. What I also found interesting is like using it a bit for storytelling. So really, hey, I have kind of this metaphor. What would be the next step from it? Where would it take you? And having like that kind of storytelling aspect of it, I was able to use from it. Yeah, and I already mentioned at the beginning, kind of having it a tutor for new knowledge areas where it was already trained on. Like, so that's kind of interesting. And yeah, also playing around with it and producing code that then can be used for one-off data analysis was also like interesting. Yeah, and the last thing, which I already used it like successfully for, is like just co-creating workshops, saying, hey, this would be my agenda for that kind of goal that I have for these people. How would you adapt it? And then it tells you, hey, this would be maybe a good step. That's a step for a break. So really kind of advising in that sense. That's also something that I was very interested in how it can do it, and it can do it already like very, very well, to have like just getting quicker to a state where you can use it with people and facilitate whole workshops. Yeah, the bad and the ugly, I would say a bit like getting simple arithmetics wrong. So really kind of the calculations aspect has to be parceled out a bit because it has been trained on text, it has been trained on code, but it can like get simple things wrong in that sense. So really kind of using it for calculations is maybe not the best approach currently. I also found that it's very hard for it to like look ahead on how long the response will be. So really kind of, hey, I'm not already finished and you tell me I should reduce this kind of text by half. It also can't do that very well. And yeah, of course, if you don't properly prompt it, you say, hey, this is my context, this is what I'm coming from, like setting up the kind of context for it in that session, then the responses can be rather basic and can like lead to like unsatisfactory results. And yeah, of course, I also had like the case of some hallucinations, which just means, hey, it also makes up things very convincingly and tells you, hey, this is the source I have here. Those two people wrote the paper on this or that, and that's just plain wrong. So you always have to still be there and recheck, hey, is this some kind of real information that is based there? But really, if you go the step further and have that kind of integrated maybe in some of the next versions, that can be like maybe reduced. Yeah, and if somebody hasn't used it before, like a quick example, so just telling it, hey, please play the role of a lean coach and explain the method of improvement kata to a team of software developers with the goal of reducing their mean time to resolution for bug fixes. So really, hey, how would it approach that? How would it go there? And what is, of course, the more interesting aspect is, okay, I now know what you mean, step one. Which kind of methods would you tell me for step one? Which are kinds of the things I can use there? I can follow up further, and really having that kind of dialogue connection here, kind of how you use it. And yeah, I would say it's of course not, it's just one example, that kind of improvement kata, but really the kind of Swiss Army knife, using it for a multitude of use cases, as here shown with ChatGPT, the free version, is really already there, and you can really make great use of it to refine text, to get to workshops faster, and to have like whole agendas set up that way. Yeah, then to the more prediction part, like can it ever be an assistant for an Agile coach? Where I would say, yeah, assisting meaning giving supplementary support or aid to, so really, hey, I send it off, do this for me, and it comes back with, yeah, I did this, it's done, and we can go further. So really being able to just having small goals, small tasks set aside for it, and telling it to do that. Yeah, what would it entail for me? It would really say it's not like enough to be just in that kind of ChatGPT window or another tool. It's just really for that kind of assistant aspect, there would be like a need for integration to other tools. So really I can send it to, with maybe plugins and stuff like that, to other tools where I say, create that workshop in Miro, create that workshop in Mural, and then it's like already there, and you can go from there. That would be like how I see an assistant popping up. Yeah, and it also needs access to the necessary context, like being just integrated in the kind of ontology that you have in your organization, and really knowing who are the people, who are the tools we use, what are the tools we use, and having that kind of context necessary to perform its tasks. Yeah, and what I combined a bit with an assistant, what does it have to do? Like really, it has to be able to learn to be an assistant, because I can start and retell all the context from the start again. It has to be able to cooperate with others, so really having that kind of interface, hey, Paul sent me out to do this, and conversing with other people or other agents or other tools, and just be able to act autonomously. So really, maybe also then it has some kind of persona attached, but that's what I would see as like having an assistant Agile coach with those kind of tools. And yeah, we are not there yet, but those are like the three aspects of what the smart agent would entail. These are like not new concepts. This is like from the 90s, from the mid-90s, that kind of smart agent concept, but it comes handily here for me to say, hey, if it can do that, it can really be an assistant for you. Yeah, and the effects, potential tasks, I already like went over them. Just can do, hey, this team has a problem with test-driven development, find out what the culprit is, get back to me when you have gathered information, or like help them there to really support in kind of agile practices and principles to get whole teams or whole like teams of teams a step forward. Yeah, can also be mentoring support, people maybe in fresh roles, that kind of system, helping and guiding and saying, hey, you should talk to this person, they went through a similar journey. So really, if it has that kind of organizational context, it can also shine there. Yeah, as I mentioned, workshop design, if the integration of tools is there, and maybe even support for some change management. Here I would put it really simply, like, hey, reminding people, these were the follow-ups, sending them out, what is already done, and where are we standing concerning that. Yeah, and this is of course not the complete list. If I think of those kind of assistants, they could really like shine in all the areas of the Agile Coaching growth wheel, which we have seen, and can really move the Agile Coaching forward if it makes sense. Yeah, and as I said already, like the integration of tools for me is like solved a bit with plugins. So really having a plugin for maybe Miro, maybe Mural, maybe other tools that you as an Agile coach use to guide teams, to Jira and so on, to really be able to access up-to-date information, even if you can't learn and retrain the model on the spot, and just be able to use third-party services and integrations. And yeah, of course, this is not something that I have to come up with. They already think about how can we, GPT-4, be integrated into lots of tools for travel planning, so not only in the Agile coaching sphere, so really, but like solving some tasks and guiding users through those tasks via being a bit of an assistant. Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to cover is just AI as a replacement, so really we're not needed anymore. Will that ever happen? How does that look like? Yeah, and the definition for me here would be a bit replacing, meaning it can do the job of an Agile coach, it can work independently within the organization to achieve higher degrees of business agility, following goals, or providing just direct learning or opportunity value, like, hey, we saved costs, we got cost of delays reduced here, or we learned faster, or because of those kind of Agile coaching support by that AI, we had the kind of opportunities because it helped us with the evolutionary architecture that we built. Yeah, and of course, that's still fiction, but really having just to think it through, having like a company, probably Microsoft or Google or some of the already big players gobbling all up that market, that sells you like that kind of AI, maybe calling it Vera, and it has access to all the company information. It can like pop up in all the chat tools that you have. It can maybe even be integrated in all the video conferencing tools that you have. So really just a persona that can speak real time, and really that kind of thinking, where could this all be? And of course, that image is also a person that's not real, so that's an image generated by a generative AI to drive home the point that this kind of persona could be different. It could be spawned multiple times, it could have different personas, but yeah, just to think it through, like always there, doesn't sleep, eat, and is there to analyze, help drive the company forward, and in that sense, just fulfill the task of an Agile coach. Yeah, and of course we're not there yet, and it will, if we are there, then it will also have effects, huge effects on all the other job families and industries, but thinking it through for like an Agile coach is also interesting what that would entail. Yeah, and quickly to sum it up, like what would ChatGPT itself say? Hey, will you replace, will Agile coaches be replaced by an AI in the near future? So this is like straight from the horse's mouth. What does it tell us back with the state of 2021? It like says, hey, the complexity of human interaction is still difficult to replicate for an AI, so really seeing humans as whole humans, and really what is their emotional state, what is the whole context that that person brings to the table currently is difficult. The whole kind of, it also gives us the whole adaptability and creativity, so it says, hey, being creative for an Agile coach, finding new solutions, working it out with people, that kind of human intuition, what is possible, is still hard for an AI and is still not easy to do. And yeah, and as I mentioned, this would be like a necessary step for it to know what is the organizational context. It's still challenging to grasp for it. It says like itself, this would be like a challenge to overcome. Again, as continuous learning and improvement relies on human judgment, what do we focus on, what can we agree on, and that kind of thing which maybe an AI would have problems with. Yeah, and of course, that's like a whole field to think about how much power do we want to put away and give to those kind of AIs. Who is then ultimately responsible for decisions that are made? Is it like the company that sells you that AI, or are you taking responsibility because you like gave over those kind of tasks? So that's just hard to navigate. Where should people be involved, and what kind of optimizations those kinds of AIs would do? Yeah, and it says in the end, AI can complement, but the rate of advancement is rapid, and maybe it's already outdated by the time you read this. And it also says, hey, the Agile coach role may evolve and go a step further concerning that, and be adapted in that sense. Yeah, to recap, for me, totally not a fad, all the tools coming out, having that kind of thing, it's here to stay, it's built on a strong research foundation. I already use it as like a Swiss Army knife that I can use as a versatile tool. It's adaptable to all the things that I may need. An assistant, we're not there yet. Maybe through plugins, when it's able to learn, act autonomously, and just adapt and get the context. It's maybe there someday. And as a replacement, very hard to predict. But as I said, if we are there that Agile Coaching is replaced, then whole other job families also are there for the taking. Then leaving you with some things to think about, like what I would see really as potential game changers that could change the whole thing. As I mentioned already, conversational programming. Simon Wardley, the guy that is mostly used for the Wardley maps, said, hey, if you just compare the speed of organizations that will use this, like conversing with their systems, adapting them through conversations and being able to just adapt applications quickly, they will be so much faster than the current way of doing things, like orchestrating Kubernetes clusters and all the things maybe that are still needed now for scale, but where you still need some kind of human touch to get there. And of course, the guys that didn't even take part in that kind of evolution and that are still like managing their own hardware, they will be left behind even further. And he said, hey, if we come to that place, I want you just to know all that you will have no choice, because it's just an evolutionary step where things will be different when problem domain experts can interact with the system and change it as they see fit and don't have that many hops from I need this, change it please, to really making it happen. So really conversational programming for me, one thing to look out on and having thinking about it. Other things is really thinking about, hey, now it's text-based, but really how far are we away from real-time speech-based interfaces, or just interfaces that know, hey, you are in that application, I think you want to know this, I think I can help you. So really also being context sensitive of what the user wants to do. Those kind of not only text-based interfaces, but also speech, video, kind of beyond chat, also where huge advancements are made. This can make acceptance maybe easier and drive this forward. And the last thing, of course, is the big thing. If there is a superhuman thing that can learn on its own and learn rapidly, then this will change everything. And there are also some AI doomers that say, then the world will collapse, and some that say, we should regulate this heavily. But this would be the three game changers that I would mention here. And presentations are not complete with a bit of a meme. So really, Agile Coaching, the city is nice and fine here. Maybe the first wave, ChatGPT, changes things, but the structure still stands. But really, conversational programming or general artificial intelligence would really be things that would change, would flatten whole cities and change things a lot in whole job families. For time's sake, I will skip a bit over the challenges and not go too much into detail. Lots is written about what is very challenging here. And for me, it's really interesting what kind the big players put out there as studies saying how will it affect the whole job markets. And it caught my eye, for example, that IBM said in a study 40% of workers will have to reskill in the next 3 years due to AI. So really, they already see, hey, 4 out of 10 people will need to adapt their skills, which is really interesting to think about which kind of aspects, job families, besides Agile Coaching, will it affect a lot. The outlook, recent developments in generative AI are based on really solid research and going from there. I think currently Agile Coaches will enhance their skills with that kind of large language models and other AI tools based on that, and will get more done in the near future. And really, all the predictions are very hard because there is just such a speed. The rate of change makes predictions very hard, and that's why I said in the beginning, hey, maybe the shelf life of this talk isn't even there, because 2 years from now things will be totally different and new kinds of tools will be there that are tightly integrated and there already. I just want to leave you with that exciting times ahead, and the whole Agile software development and the world can get a lot from it, but of course it's challenging to not only have the big tech be the winner-take-all of that whole AI field and to profit as a society and as a whole from it. Yeah, and the things that I would really put out there is really the conversational programming and general artificial intelligence through all the product readiness seems a step closer and is really the most interesting outlook here. Yeah, this concludes my talk. I hope you are all excited for that kind of future, and I thank you all for your attention.